welcome you all in this session. And I thank you all for joining in today, for spending time with me on the technology transition talk of the electric vehicles masterclass series. And this is an annual masterclass series which we have started. And this is the first masterclass that we are going to take today, and that is related to the battery technologies and transition. And may I know that how many of you are attending first time any of our sessions? How many of you are attending the first time any of our session? Okay, great. So lots of first time people are. So great. So lots of first time people are attending. So welcome you all again. And just for their introduction, we are an organization who is in the domain of embedded systems, the IoT, the embedded AI, the electric vehicles, and thereafter the automotive electronics and industrial electronics and all. And we have services for the enterprises and institutions both. We are basically a technology consultancy organization, and who have the services of the technology consultancies for the new product designs and the projects consultancy. And we are also having the training wing for the industries and for academia both. And through our in-house R&D wing, we support the product development life cycles. And we have the support for the industries, the government bodies, startups, universities, and colleges for the trainings and the lab setups and all the. And to make evening beautiful on the electric vehicles today, I'm taking this session, and I head the technology and training division of Pragyatmika. Maybe the people who are attending already maybe known to my face, and for the first timers, this is the name. And I look after the technology and training wing of Pragyatmika. I'm in this the last 14 years. Have developed lots of embedded and IoT and the electronic systems related to the various domains. And for electronics, we have worked on lots of technology consultancy projects and the electronics development related to that. We uh, and before I start, I uh, thank all of you for making our previous webinar series successful. People from all the parts of the world have attended our sessions. And for today's session, also, we have the good registrations, not only from the India, but also from the other parts of the world, like the Africa, from Greece, from Germany, from USA, from UK, from Nigeria, and all these parts we have the registrations, and people are attending from all these parts. So it gives a good pleasure to us that we are touching the lives of the people from the different regions and from the different domains connecting. And not only today is not only the great day that we are starting this series of the EV Masterclass series, and but also for India, uh, today is a great day. And guess what I'm talking about? Can anyone guess what I'm talking about for?
Sorry about corona vaccine.
Webinar.
Great. So yeah, definitely. We all have been fighting for the last 1 year, and not only we, but the whole world is fighting against unseen threat for the last 1 year. And today for India, it is a great day that we have started our government is able to start the vaccination programs specifically for the health workers. So before we start, it is a big salute to all the health workers first, the medical fraternity, the bioscientists and frontline warriors who have worked, who have devoted his time. Many of them have not gone back to their home for last say 6 and 7 months, and constantly serving the mankind. So this is a great day that we have been able to start this thing. So a big salute for the all the people who are, and whatever the best possible things that we have been able to do throughout these times. And I thank all this time also because this thing has started, and it brought us to you and us nearer also, because of through the online means the people have started working, and it opened up a new opportunities for all of us to meet through the online. And so every pandemic has some opportunity also, and you have to see that how the you can turn up those opportunity for yourself. So that's a great thing, but still it's heartily salutes. And before I start on this webinars today, the masterclass today, I just introduce you that what is this series that we have started. So this is a EV Masterclass Technology and Transition series. You know that electric vehicles are picking up in all the world very fast, but still there are lots of transition problems are there. There are lots of hiccups are there for the key adoptions of the technology, for the key adoptions of the vehicles, for the common mass. And it needs to be identified that what those key hiccups are. And this is one of our effort to let you know, not only the technological perspective, but on also towards the customers, to educate the customers, to educate the people who are using the electric vehicles, and to the people who are developing and who are maintaining these all. So all the people who are related to the electric vehicle ecosystems will get benefited out of our sessions. And that's what we have started this annual series, where we are going to talk throughout the year on the various topics of electric vehicles, and not only towards the electric vehicle technology, but thereafter the charging ecosystems, thereafter BMS systems, EV powertrains, the communication architecture. So all the things which is related for the not only for the design and development of electric vehicles, but also for the uses and adoption of electric vehicles. So all these things that we are going to talk in this whole series. And this whole series is free to attend the participants who have registered once. So they will be keep getting the invitations for whole of the series, and at the end of the series, participation certificates to the people also. And we will have the lectures, the demonstrations we will have, means how practically we are able to do the things. Thereafter, we will have the industry interactions and mentorship sessions also. So this is how we are going to encompass the things into this uh, EV technology and transition series. And I hope you have found it interesting, right? You can just encourage. You can encourage me by if you have found this interesting.
Yes, sir.
Great. Thank you. So, uh, you know that there are lots of things, lots of components are related to the electric vehicles, and that we are going to see also that what how the things are related in the electric vehicles things. But the most important thing that start with is the energy, because the electric vehicles in one way is going to serve for the mankind towards the saving the nature, because of lots of factor that it affects towards the environment, and the nature is gets saved by the key adoptions of the electric vehicles. And At the other end, it is working more towards the energy. So we are able to save lots of on the things of energy. So batteries are one of the important factor for the electric vehicles towards the uh, construction, towards the cost, and towards the benefit side. So that's why this first session is being kept all around the batteries. And in this first session, I'm going to talk you about uh, the how the batteries are there for the what are the different types of batteries, the how is it a choice or a compulsion, and thereafter what are the different varieties and selections of the batteries are, and what are the different safety aspects that we have to see towards the uses of the batteries, and what are the future batteries that we are going to have. What are the different opportunities, the curve, and all the things that we are going to see in this session today in the first day, right? So, uh, though we have various vehicles, various type of automotive devices all around us, but still electric vehicle is picking up very fast, not only in one part of the world, but in all the part of the world. This is the same story, and we have the people connected from most of the part of the globe. So I just want to know in one line that what it leads to the evolution of electric vehicles, what it leads to the adoptions of electric vehicles, what it leads for to the governments that they are focusing much and much on the electric vehicles rather than their other uh, types of vehicles. Can anyone just guess to the chat windows?
Sir, to find the alternate solution for like diesel petrol vehicles.
Okay, one thing is that alternative to the fuel cells, right? That's what you. Yeah. Mr. Kundan says it is alternative for non-renewable resources. Himanshu says it is to eliminate the pollution. Yeah, that's a key thing. And energy saving, great. To get down the pollution, great. But so Pranay says it is per kilometer cost will be very less and pollution less, great. So these are the key adoptions things. So we just if we just summarize, so it is the environment is one of the biggest factor that we are able to save on the environments. Secondly, we are able to save towards the non renewable sources we have, because those sources which is based on the fuel cells are very limited in nature. We don't have much availability, and in the limited part of the globe those fuel cells are available. So that's why it is a kind of consideration that the policy makers are focusing. And secondly, that so these are the factors which is leads to the evolution of the electric vehicles. And secondly, what there is one more question I have for you, that what it leads to, like there are the automotive vehicles like the car, bus, and all these, or two-wheelers, all these things are. But nowadays in electric vehicles, you are seeing up that lots and lots of startups are coming up. Maybe one of your friend, or maybe many of you have also started making the. How many of you? Before that, I just asked that how many of us who are connected today are already into the electric vehicles domain doing something? How many of us are today connected who are in the already in electric vehicle domain? I just want to know. Just great, Mr. Arjan, you are in EV domain already working. Anyone else? Okay, Mr. Chandrasekhar, yeah. Okay, good. So we have people over here who are already working in the EV domain. So what it leads to, the common availability, what it leads to the newer entrepreneurs to enter into the electric vehicle domain. The newer entrepreneurs, you know that the fuel cell vehicles are selling like anything, like the two-wheelers, the fuel cell two-wheelers or fuel cell cars. All those are selling like anything, but people are not entering into that, and people are entering into electric vehicles, which is a thing of a future. So what it leads to them, to enter into this new, even if now the sales are very less. I was just looking for a data today, and if you have also gone through that, the last year data has been released, that how many number of electric cars have been sold throughout India. So Tata Nexon have come to the top of that, and it is almost around 2,500 vehicles. The Nexon electric vehicles have been sold throughout the India, and in the last, I think it is the Hyundai Kona, it has come 2529 is the exact data. So 63% market the Nexon electric is picking up. So you see that there are it must have been that millions of cars, the other when the fuel cell cars must have been sold, and only 2529 only that much number of electric cars have been sold by Tata Nexon. So right now you see that the numbers are less. I'm talking specifically for India, and similar scenarios in other parts also, if you see the percentage wise. So right now the electric is a little, the sales you see is a little lesser, but we know that there is a future. And what the thing that has made available to the people in the electric is the availability of technology. So actually, EV is creating a technology disruption into the market, and that's how we are everyone. You, and lots of who are technology enthusiasts, people are entering into it, and can get a good command over it, and can give a good competition to the companies who are already into this domain, this automotive domain. Like the same thing that has happened in the LED market, maybe if you are it carefully, or maybe the same thing that has happened with most of the technology-driven markets, like in camera, like the camera has been become obsolete. The film cell camera have been obsolete, and you have mobile phones. Same thing has happened in the LED market, that the bulb makers or the tube makers have gone obsolete if they have not shifted to the LED designs. Same thing is going to happen in this electric vehicle market, where if the vehicle manufacturer is not shifting towards the technology, definitely he will be losing a good percentage of his market, and he will get a good threat from the common mass, because the technology is commonly, because of the mechanical parts, which is a big hindrance for the people to manufacture, is a lesser in a way, and that will make all of us to make our own vehicles. And many of you, I'm sure that many of you have been trying at home also, maybe making just e-bicycle or e-scooter also, because of the technology disruption available. So this is the answer, that technology has made the EV at such a level playing field, that you can enter into it, and there is not much problem that will remain. If you have interest, if you have the little know-how of the technology, you can start in this domain, and definitely a good learning will be required to develop a quality product. So we can enter into, but definitely a good learning curve is required, so that you can develop a good quality product, which will be not only comfortable on the standards of what is being laid. So there are the two things. One thing is the standards that is being laid by the policy makers, and another thing is the standard that is suitable for the customer. So until and unless you are not making the thing which is suitable for the customer, that a vehicle design will not be perfect. So you have to work on both of the perspectives, as a vehicle or as a technology designer in this EV domain, because you are directly relating to the uses of the customers and his money involved. So this EV enhancements is having a good impact on the mechanical parts, because you can see that we have 50% less movable parts than any of the IC engine vehicles in the EV. And same way, it is reducing our design cycles. So if we have the less movable parts available in this vehicle, so our design cycle will be lesser, and we have to see the aerodynamic designs, but you don't have to bother towards the engine design and all the things. It is the a simple powertrain design that remains. And if we don't have the much mechanical parts, so the maintenance is less, stocking you have to do less, and you have a good flexibility of the designs, because you are not fixed with the mechanical parts of fixations. So you have the flexibility to design various types of frames, and you will see that you see that in the automobile, compared to the automobiles, we have various kinds of innovative designs coming up one a day and after in the electric vehicles. Like the IC engine vehicles that you are using, like car has a fixed shape, the two-wheelers have a fixed shape, the bus has a fixed shape, but in EV, every day you will see a new design that looks pretty cool to the eyes, and it has the good performance also. So that's a design flexibility that we have, because we don't have much movable parts. We have a simpler electrical and electronics materials inside it, which we can fix, and the evolution is happening. The lots of work is going on, so that we can reduce those size of those electronics and the electrical parts also, so that we have a better features. And just for the comparison purpose also, you can see that if it is a normal fuel cell vehicle, so against of 100% of fuel inputs, you are getting just the 13% of the transmissions. And in the hybrid, where we have the battery and the fuel both, so little more improvement is there, and we have the 19% of the transmissions. But in case of the battery electric vehicles, it is a wonders that we have only 10% loss in the powertrains, and 14% loss in the drive cycles, and 76% of total power output that we get for the transmissions, which we lose in the drivings. So so that's what we have the good power available also in the battery electric vehicle. And if we design good, so with minimal inputs, we can give the user flexibility of a higher and that's how you have to design. Okay, how many of you are thinking that just come up? How many of you are thinking that EV is just 10 years back or 15 years back vehicle? How long before the story of EV is going back? Any last 3 years? Okay, Mr. Pranav says it is last 3 years story. What about others? Let's keep it an interactive session. I'm not going to give marks for any of your answers. It is just a know-how, and that will keep me awake. Okay, Mr. Himanshu says it is great. Mr. Harihara says it is 19th or 18th century. Yeah, around 7 years. So different views. Okay, and yeah, EV cars. Okay, we have good participation. So sure, in this session, I'm going to cover that thing also. So sure, thank you for your answers. Most of you have picked up the things really well, that it is not a new thing. And where does we have impact from the EVs? So it is not only the air quality, it is not only the environment where we are looking at. So it has all the impacts on the social sectors, on the environmental, and on economic. Environmental, we have discussed that we have the green energy uses, and we have the green energy emissions also. So our air quality is improving day by day, and that's what you have felt also, like last year, about 2-3 years of lockdown has made most of the air cleaner in most of the parts of the world. And if the EV would have been implemented, so we could have seen those sites for a longer durations. But alas, that has not happened because we don't have the much adoptions of EV yet. So that could have been stabilized if we had the EV there. But since then, lots of sale in the EV sector has happened, and people are now understanding that the EV is the future and it is the requirement to keep us safe. So on the social parts, so we have the renewables through EV batteries could be renewed, and it could be recycled. Thereafter, we are parts of the energy, and so same way, if we are doing this, so we are able to increase the efficiency of our power plants also, because we don't have to waste much energy in the extraction of the in the extraction of these fuel cells. Okay, and this thing will make us self-reliant. The thing that every country is looking for, a self-reliance in himself. So yes, if you have the technology, the automotive, the normal fuel cell automotives are in the hand of the few companies, and who are from the specific countries that you see. And if you have to start a new automotive plant, so either those companies start, or it is the collaboration happens. But every country is looking for the EV, and these EV technologies are making the countries self-reliant. So in terms of India, if I take, so it is, and in automobile, you see that we don't have much IPs available. Lots of foreign companies are there, but in case of electric vehicles, we are not far behind the world, and almost we are going parallel, hand to hand, in the technology development for the electric vehicles. The companies are setting up their plants, and you must have gone through the news recently, this week also, that some new happenings are there. So we are in hand to hand, and that's what the gain that not only India but all the countries are looking at for the self-reliance in the automotive domain. But still, there is the problem, and there is not much of adoptions has happened. So what are the factors those are? So there are some factors I have mentioned over here, but this is not only these factors. There may be a lot more in your mind also. And most of you, I've seen that you are from the domain itself. So maybe you can also put your views over here, that where do you feel that what is hindering the adoption of the vehicles into this into the common mass. So is it the cost, or is it the supplies of the components, or is it the right battery availability, or what? Is anyone having a different, more, not different, but if anyone having the more points on the hindrance factor of the key adoptions of the technology, he is welcome to put his line in the chat window, so others can also note it. And exactly, so Mr. Pranay says it is regulatories requirements. So battery capacity, packaging. So battery, one thing that there the problem is. Electricity problem. So electricity problem is your charging problem that you want to say, Mr. Dharan? The batteries is one of the key factors. The batteries and the charging infrastructure, I can see the one of the key consideration. And Mr. Chandrasekhar says it is the customer awareness. Yes, so that's what the task that you take, that the customer needs to be made aware for the adoption of the technology. So as I can.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, there is also one factor which affects this electric vehicle, that if we put a heavy weight on a vehicle, then its speed gets decreased. And
Yes, exactly. So
so what is the plan to overcome this So is
Okay.
there any plan
Okay.
for?
Okay. We will discuss all these things during the question answer session. So please keep remember this thing, and we will discuss this thing in the question answer session. Okay, so batteries, thereafter the awareness, thereafter the charging infrastructure problem. So all these things that is the factors that you have mentioned, apart from the things that I have mentioned over here, and the efficiency and efficacy. Because of in the fuel cells, you can see that it is almost the density and the capacity, the energy capacity is very huge, like in 9 kilowatt per kg is density capacity for the petrol vehicles. But in case of a battery electric vehicles, we don't have that much thing. And if we see it on a logarithmic scale, then we are able to compare it. If you will compare these on a linear scale, you will not be able to find also that where the battery energy capacity is. So we are having very less capacity in the battery, but the technology enhancements are going on, and people are working on that how we can increase the energy density of the batteries also. But it will never be comparable. I want to think that it will never be comparable for the fuel cell vehicles. But still, how we can make efficient our consumption levels, how we can make efficient our I can say that the motors, the controllers, so that more and more energy so that more and more range we can achieve through the less energy density also. Like for an example, if we are using a battery pack which is giving us a range of say maybe 250 kilometers for an example, and my target is to achieve like 300 kilometers. So whenever you would be selecting these battery packs, the technology for the battery pack you are selecting, so if your target is to achieve 300 kilometers, so maybe you are having the 250 kilometers range, so your motor controller can work on, and the motor controller can be compensated to make you achieve the target of 300 kilometers. But if you have selected the battery pack of just for a range of 100 kilometers or maybe 150 kilometers, then the motor controller won't be also be make you able to achieve the target of 300 kilometers. So that's what the one thing that remains always while selecting the battery packs, and that thing always remain a factor, because on the petrols or fuel cells, you go to the fuel cell stations and your tanks got filled up in just few minutes. But if this calculation has not happened properly, so maybe you have to wait for the battery chargings for an hour or even higher if you have not pre-booked. And right now, as you mentioned here also, that we don't have the good charging infrastructure. So that's what the feel of the vehicles and the convenience that people want to get with the help of his own vehicle, that gets lost. And that is again a good transition problem that remains. And that's why the electric cars have not picked up at the places where we don't have the good charging infrastructure, because there it requires the good calculation and the kind that you have to give to the user so that he has a smooth journey. So so battery is a bigger factor. The battery and the charging system is a bigger factor for this electric. And we have to give the user a feel of or a confidence, I can say, the range anxiety. Because of that, normally what happens that the user uses almost the vehicles for like 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers or 50 kilometers. Very few of them goes beyond say 50 kilometers or 60 kilometers in a day using his EV. But once he goes to purchase the vehicle, he always see that can it go to 300 kilometers or 400 kilometers, because this is the mindset of the people. This is the range anxiety problem that is called, though we don't often use that much range, but we purchase the things, or we look after the things where we have the good range of the vehicles. So there some model needs to be developed if you are in the EV domain. So there you need to develop some model where you don't increase the cost of the vehicle, because if you are going to solve the range anxiety problem, so you have to increase the battery efficiency, you have to increase the battery capacity, and further that will increase the weight and the cost of the vehicles. But if you have to deal and if you are not going to increase the cost and the weight of your vehicle, so you have to develop some model through which you can reduce that range anxiety issues. So, and that's how you can make your vehicle affordable also. So these are the transition problems that we have. So we know that electrification is a reality. We have to, in one or other way, we have to go towards the electric vehicles, or maybe it's a good alternate. And despite of lots of problems we have still in most of the parts, like there is a availability of the raw materials, the cost, the grants thereafter. These are the kinds of things, and these are the skeptical questions are there in the mind of the people. But this is a reality that we have, and we have to think towards that, how we can make people towards the electric vehicle movement, how we can make. And if I see that what are the pillars, so this whole ecosystem is called the e-mobility system. And if I have to see the pillars of these e-mobility system, the 4-pillar based system, where one is first pillar is your vehicle itself, which is maybe a PHEV, or a battery electric vehicle, or a plugged electric vehicle. The second important pillar of your this e-mobility ecosystem, your batteries. So the type of the battery which you are using, and the management system related to it. So there is electronics related to that. So that is very much important. Thereafter, how do you charge your batteries? Because they need to be charged. So either you have a charging infrastructure, you have a swapping infrastructure, or maybe you have the charging stations, or charging maybe at your home. So there are the various methods are there. So de-energizing system is one of the important pillar, which is I can say the backbone of this electric vehicle ecosystem, because until unless it won't have the adoption won't happen. And thereafter it happens the R&D capacity, the capacity, and all the things of the country. So these 4 pillars are there, and the country who has a strong hold in all these pillars will be able to achieve the self-reliance domain. So now I am coming back towards the technology side. So this is the ecosystem that we have seen. And if I see this image that is in front of the screen, so this is a complete all electric vehicle image that you can see. So the people who are new to the electric vehicle domains, for them this image is special. So you can see that if you are talking about, maybe you are well aware of the automotive vehicles, the fuel cell vehicles, you must be aware of that, what are the components and what are the key elements are there in fuel cell vehicles. But if I'm talking about the electric vehicle, so this is the key components of any of the electric vehicle is, and you can see over here that we have the battery pack over here. So that is the traction battery pack, which is there to power the complete powertrain of this vehicle. And we have the charging system. So it is an onboard charger also, like if a regenerative braking system or something is there. So we can generate that, we can translate the mechanical motion into the electrical energy, and that could be used to charge the auxiliary battery, or this is the auxiliary battery we have. So in the designs, there are 2 types of designs are kept. One is that only we have the primary battery, that is called the traction battery pack, which is used to drive the motors of the vehicle. Or in some of the designs, we choose to have the auxiliary battery pack also, like you have the various lighting systems, the infotainment systems, the air conditioning system, such kind of things that you have to run. So that could be run through the auxiliary battery pack. So it is the choice of the designer that how he will be charging these auxiliary battery packs, either through the translation or either through the mechanical motions or through the main battery pack. Thereafter, we have the charging systems, and thereafter it is the traction motor. The electric traction motor is there, and these are the converters, so DC-DC converters and DC to AC converters. Those things are the inverters actually. Those things are used because this is working on 400 volt generally, the cars are. So we have those inverter systems also running inside it. So you can see that apart from the traction, apart from this battery pack, which is there on the hold the complete complete base, we have very less number of movable components available, and we have a good space available in the vehicle to design the things. So and the important part is the battery over here. So battery is almost in 91% that the battery has in the automotive domain specifically, if I'm talking about. So almost 91% of the sizing is there in the automotive domain the batteries has, and almost in all the automotives the batteries are being taken, and these are the different segregations, like in transportations or like in energy storage, where all these batteries are being used. There may be some specific type of chemistries which is being used, but in automotives it has the most uses of these batteries are. So yes, this is the slide which for which I have asked you the question. So most of you have answered that it is not a new thing, and it has a story way back. So yes, EVs are returned actually. It all the vehicles saga all started with the electric vehicles only, where first these lead acid batteries were used. So initially those lead acid batteries were used. Which was called the golden era of this electric vehicle in late 1800, and but there was some problem, like that these lead acid batteries have very huge weight, and we don't have much charge capacities also available. So that led to the okay. Is PPT viewable to everyone? Okay. Okay, Mr. Pranay, then it might be issue at your end. Okay. So this is the this is the region which led to the shifting of vehicles from the battery electric to the IC one, and so this by 1920 this IC engine vehicles have started dominating the market, because we have the a huge energy density available in these fuel cell vehicles. But again, we know that initially it is the interest, and thereafter the limitations are there in the fuel cell vehicles. So that has again shifted us back to think about the batteries, and to think about the new technologies in the batteries which could be possible to be used in these vehicles again. So again, this 2017 or maybe before that, so it all started around say 2015 or 16. Again, some more interest have started been going towards the electric vehicle side, and it is not only the environmental constraints, but it is the shift, that is the renewable things, that those renewable things are required, and the things that needs to be saved, those limited source of energy need to be saved. So that's why it again gave a shift. And so this IC to EV transition is still in a progress, and I hope we will be able to adapt the things very fast. In EV, you can see that so we are using the batteries, and as I was talked about that we have a very less losses in the case of the electric vehicles, and that's why it is a good choice of the vehicle. So it is the detailed description of that. So against of that 100% of inputs of the batteries, we have almost 10% of loss in the powertrain, the motors, which you are making available for the driving of the vehicle. Driveline losses, like you have the electronic components, and the electrical loss will be there in the line for the driving of the motors. So from the mechanical from this mechanical motions. So that's how this 14% loss is there in the drive line. And then you have almost 76% of power that you get for the driving of the vehicles, and where you choose to lose around your, and it is the that you should have, like once if you are designing the vehicles, so you should also calculate this thing that your percentage should be remaining in these parameters, and these are the standard parameters that has been drawn, that your design, like you will be designing the vehicle, so the aerodynamic design should be so that it should not lose beyond 29% of the capacity of the vehicle in the design, like the drags or anything that is happening to your vehicle not lose energy more than this capacity through your designs. Thereafter, through your braking systems and the rolling systems. So these are the percentage that is a loss that we have. Okay, coming back to the batteries. We are seeing that now it is being shifted towards the uses of the batteries for the vehicles. What are the different types of batteries we have available in this for uses in our vehicles? So it all starts with the lead acid batteries, and maybe many of your applications or maybe the first vehicle you may have made. So maybe you have used those lead acid batteries, or the dry cell batteries. Those are. So how many of you have made the your first electric vehicle using the lead acid batteries? Anyone of us have made any electric vehicle using the lead acid batteries, or all of you have started with the lithium ions only? Okay, Mr. Narela Sai has made. Okay, great. So yes, so is still in most parts of the world, the electric bike. Yeah, most of the parts of the world, the e-rickshaw kind of the or auto kind, the structures are being using those lead acid batteries still. Though shifting is happening towards the lithium ion chemistries, but still due to the cost issues, these low cost vehicles are not still shifting. So this all starts with the one choice that I'm talking about. So these are the different batteries that could be used. And here is the pros and cons of the batteries that is mentioned. So in the blue one, it is the pros that you have, and the red one is the cons the every battery has. So the lead acid is very cost effective, and recycling is very easy. But in case of the energy density, we don't have very much energy density available in these batteries, and the weight is very huge. And the third thing is that you don't have the stable voltage output in these lead acid batteries. The drop curve of the battery is very high. So if you are using it for the automotive applications, so it becomes really a pathetic situation most some of the times, where right now maybe you are seeing that your battery is charged almost 100%, and maybe you have gone 5 kilometers and hiccups have happened, and you are saying that I have only just 40% or 50% of the battery capacity left. So that may happen, and this is due to the not stabilized curves of the we have in these lead acid batteries. And NiCad is another choice, but it is not been used much, the NiCad and nickel metal hydrides, due to because of NiCad that there is a much of environmental constraint is there, and weight is very high in the NiCad batteries. And in nickel metal hydrides, the self-discharge rate is very high. So if your battery is not being used, so the discharge rate will be so high that maybe it will drain itself. So that's how these nickel metal hydrides are also not being used, because if we are not on a constant charging process. So then the lithium ion technology have come in, and with the uses and with the evolutions of the lithium, more evolutions in the lithium ion technology, these battery technologies are evolving. These battery technologies are evolving, and this is going to be used much and much in the battery vehicles. There are few questions coming up, so wait, I will answer the questions at the end. You can put the questions over here, and we'll answer the questions at the end. If it is a specific question, I will see. If I will see from the session itself, if in a larger interest, then I will answer it right away. And there are few other technologies, other future technologies are people are working on. So these are the lithium airs, or maybe the other kind of lithium chemistries people are working on. So these are the different battery choice we do have in the electric vehicles, and people who are new to electric vehicles can take a note of this, that what are the different batteries are being, what are the different battery chemistries we do have available. So, okay, that's a chemistry that we have. Okay, there is a question about the lithium air. So right now, only the hype curve is being drawn for the lithium air chemistries, and the compressed airs used for that, for the lithium air. Okay, so lithium is why the lithium is going to be a better electric vehicles, due to the reason of there are two things, that we have the better energy density available in the lithium vehicles. So this is a comparison that you can see over here, that compared to the other chemistries like the lead acid, the NiCads and nickel metal hydrides, the lithium batteries have a higher volume energy density and the mass energy density, both is higher in that case. And the mass energy density makes it smaller, because in a lesser mass, you are getting a higher watt hour, higher energy that you are getting. So that's how you can make a lighter battery. And the shape and size could also be reduced if we have the volume. In this volume, we have the more energy available. So the on both of the parameters, volumetric and the mass energy density, the lithium batteries are at a higher level. So that's why it is becoming a choice. And if it has been compared on the graph of the practical, there are the two things, that the theoretical energy that we uh, calculate for the batteries, and the practical that we use to get from the battery, because the practical conditions are dependent on the various road conditions and the usage conditions of the vehicle. So that's what we get in the lithium ion, the practical energy that you get, the practical specific energy that you get, means actual energy that you get is in a better respect compared to the theoretical specific energy which you have calculated, like in lead acid, of the scenario that I have talked to you, that maybe it is possible due to the voltage curve and due to the specific energy nature, that the theoretically you have calculated that your range could be maybe 50 kilometers, but actually once you have started your vehicle, you are getting the 10 kilometers or 20 kilometers of a range. So that's the difference is there. and that will remain the difference because there are the theoretical calculations that those are made based on the chemistries available and based on the standard conditions. And once you go out on the road, so the road conditions changes, the temperature conditions, the vibration conditions, and the usage conditions changes, and you have different practical specific energies available. So that's what the comparisons, if it has been done. So lithium ion is again on a better perspective. Almost the similar thing which has been discussed in a previous slide. So the new slide also tells you the same thing. And here it tells about the cost also. So lithium ion is compared to the other chemistries, lithium ion is at a higher cost compared to the other one, but the efforts are going on, and the cost is going to be lowered. But if you see towards the a total of energy cost that for the vehicle, so there the lithium ion, you will see that it is on a comparable stage that we have. So in your lithium ion battery packs, those lithium ion battery packs are made of the uh, individual cells. So those cells are arranged in a series and a parallel manner. You can see that. So these lithium ion cells that we use, so there are the various chemistries that we have available in these lithium ion cells. So either the lithium NMC, those are the nickel manganese cobalts. Thereafter there are the LFPs, the lithium iron phosphates. Thereafter the LMOs, LTOs. So there are the different chemistries of the lithium. There are the different types of chemistries are being amalgamated with the lithiums, and the new chemistries are made in this lithium ion technology. And I think I have the list over here. Yes, we have the list over here. So, and specifically, if you see that it is the almost 3.7 or 3.3, like our voltage level higher in the case of lithiums. Like if it is the lead acid, so only 1.2 volt that we have, or 1.4 volt that we have in the lead acid. Compared to the lithiums, we have these 3.7, 3.3, or even higher, 4.2. That's the voltage level that we have. And the there are the silicon batteries chemistries people are working on. So there we will have the 5 volt as the voltage level of the batteries. So if we have the higher voltage levels of individual cells, so we will be using less number of cells in the series. And if we have the current capacity also higher, so it will reduce the number of cells in the parallel for making of the any of the battery pack. You must be knowing that like if I have to make a battery pack of say like 36 volts, so you have to divide 36 volt or a 10 Ah, maybe 10 ampere, 10 Ah, the capacity of the battery pack that you want to make. So you have to divide your cells in series and parallel arrangement, and you have to divide the cell capacity. Like you have the available 3.6 volt cells available, so the 36 would be divided by 3.6, and you have to arrange in the series. The basic calculations from the electronics I'm talking about, most of you must be knowing that. So, and same way, the is multiplied in terms of arrangements, and the current is multiplied in terms of the parallel arrangement. So you have, so for making up the any of the battery pack, you have to arrange these cells in a series and a parallel manner. So if I see the internals of the battery pack, so it is the first cell we have, and these cells are the monocells. It is made up of cathode and anode, and there is a separator material in between, and the ions move throughout, so that the charging of the battery pack, so charging of the cell happens through the movement of the ion. And that's what the best thing that is with the lithium ions also. Like in the other chemistries like and all, we have the movement of the solid metal objects during the charging process. But in case of lithium ion, what happens that move from one end to another end, and the solid metal doesn't move. So that's how the degradation is also a very happens very slow. That's how the life of the lithium ion cells are at a higher level. We have these internship programs also on the lithium ion battery pack. So where we make you learn more in detail about that, how these lithium ion cells are there inside, and how the charging and all these processes are there. So you can get more info about that. You can ask us about the program details and we can send you them. So there the things are there. It is just the battery pack that I'm discussing over here. So it is the separator material is there, cathodes and anodes, and thereafter using those mono cells. So individual cells are used to stack in a series and a parallel manner, and we make the cell out of that. So the multiple series and parallel arrangement of the cells make a module, and these modules have the BMS system, the individual system, and those electronics are used to manage the discharging of the cells. So it is the lithium ion cells are not discharged on its own. There is a complete management balancing is used for the discharging and charging of the cells. And this is a one module. So if you have the lesser requirements, maybe you can work with only one module. But like I'm talking about a battery pack of any four-wheeler or maybe the bus or anything. So then similar such kind of many modules are used, are arranged in a series and a parallel manner to achieve a higher voltage level. So maybe you are making a 48 volt modules and or maybe 40 volt modules, and then you are arranging them in a 10 series so that you can achieve a 400 volts. And again, we have a BMS system. So these are the individual BMSs, and those individual BMSs are communicating to each other, because here the single BMS is the battery management system is taking care of the cell banks, I can say. And here the every cell bank is managed by the individual BMS it has, and then another BMS which is connected with the powertrain system. So that takes care of the management of these individual BMSs. And nowadays, in earlier, right now, earlier we have these CAN protocols running for the management of the these communications in these individual modules. But now it is the ISO SPI is a preferred one protocol which has been used for the communication of these individual modules of the BMS. So because of the cost effectiveness and the less resources requirement. So ISO SPI is one of the best choice that is happening for communications. And so we have the battery pack made, and if you have to stack those battery packs, so then it becomes the battery bank. So where we have the multiple such battery packs arranged, and then it makes a complete energy storage. So till now, battery pack, it remains for a portable applications for vehicles, and once it goes towards the battery the storage, so then it is used for a backup systems or a storage system. So this is how the a single cell level to the storage system, our journey of the battery pack goes around. And I was talking about that we have the different chemistries in the lithium ions. So these are the lithium ion different chemistries. Like we have the most of you must be using these NMC cells, which is mostly used for these two-wheeler vehicles and such. So NMC cells, and these are the area graph that it shows you that on which parameter the which one chemistry is important one. So this because different anode and cathode materials are used for the with the lithiums. to make the different chemistries of the batteries, and every type of chemistry has some benefits or some drawbacks. So based on your requirement and based on the availability and based on the cost, these chemistries are selected. So in our, actually this is the first, and in the next series of this masterclass, again I will be letting you know about the selection of the right cell for your battery pack, like for which you may have different use cases, and for which use case which type of chemistry that you will be selecting, and which type of chemistries, and what should be the capacity of your battery pack. So how do you calculate and simulate it? So that will be covered in our next of the session. So this is dependent upon the pros and con available with this, and different companies are using the different, like some of them are using the NMC cells, and you must be seeing these LFP cells also in demand. So depend on the availability and depend on the marketability, these type of things are being used. Right now, what is happening that generally it has been suggested that NMC cells should be used for the two-wheeler applications, and due to the nature that it has a high specific energy, and the life and the cost factor is also convenient for the NMC cells. And in LFP, we have the less specific energy, and discharge rate is also higher. So that was the problem, that the LFP cells. But if you see that nowadays the LFP cells are coming up, the manufacturers are making these LFP cells with huge amount of specific power, the energy density, the huge amount of energy available, so that even if the NMC cells are available in like 6 Ah capacity, so these LFP cells are made available at say maybe 20 Ah or 25 Ah or 30 Ah of capacities. It is made available, so that even if it discharges, it has a higher discharge rate than NMC cells. So even if it discharges, it will be remain comparable to these NMC cells. So that's what the kind of design is also becoming more popular in the battery technology. So every day some new happenings are going to be there in the market. So nothing is constant in this battery technology domain now, and you have to keep looking for the different choices and different types of evolutions in the battery chemistry that is being made by the manufacturers, and you have to remain aligned with that. So these are the different chemistries and most common chemistries right now. Can anyone figure out that what are the most common battery chemistries we are using as of now? What are the most common battery chemistries we are using as of now? Mostly the people who are in the domain can tell better. Okay, Mr. Abhijit, this is the lead acid. I'm talking about in the lithium ion domain. Like lithium ion is a bigger, like lithium ion is called an umbrella, I can say. And in that lithium ion, there are the various chemistries are available, and I've just put all such chemistries which are used in the lithium ion technology on this, and these are the different comparisons that it over here. So if you go into the market, so mostly it is either the NMC or LFPs you will find most of. And so if you are going to select for your application, so either you will be selecting both of them, because these are the two very common available battery that the cells remain available. So if you are selecting NMC, it is good. It has a good it has a less discharge rate and the good specific energy available. But LFPs, you need to see that the chemistries you are using. So if you are using the LFPs, so you have to look at the specifications which is there. So with the LFP, and you should not be choosing the less AH capacity of the LFP cell for your battery pack. Related to the temperatures and all the things. So there are the some factors affect the lithium ion battery packs. So what are those factors? So as we human have a specific temperature range, we are most see I can productive remain in the range of these 15 degree or 35 degree, in not much heated and not less cold. So our product is in this range. Same way the lithium ion also has a desired temperature range. So that's why I have put it like, are they human? So as human feel good in this temperature range. So this is the same for the lithium ion battery packs. And from here, actually, it is a requirement of these, I can say the heat management for the battery packs and the thermal run, and it should not happen the thermal runaway kind of conditions. So the heat management factors for the lithium ion battery packs are very much important, that remain with the designs. And due to this reason, because once we go beyond the temperature ranges which has been defined, so our degradation of the the cell life starts, and it is constantly feeding the rate of your battery pack. So as the temperature will increase, the life of pack will decrease. So if you are selecting it for your battery pack designs, so you have to look after the heat should not go beyond a certain range, and all the measures that you should take care while designing the battery packs for this thing. Same way, there is a C rate is there in the cells. So every cell is there with a C rate. So that's the maximum capacity through which you can discharge that cell is measured through the C rate. So like your battery pack is of a 6,000 mAh or 6 Ah capacity, and that much you can discharge in a 1 hour that cell. So that will be called the 1C rate of your cell. And so C rate is defined as the rate at which you can charge or discharge your battery. And this is as you will there is there in this lithium ions that you can have a huge discharge in the C rates. Like generally it is the 2 C rates with the NMCs are there, but we can go up to 25 C rates also with the LFP cells. LFP cells have huge C rates, and we can go up to 25-30 C rates also for a smaller duration. The time is also defined. So once you will see the data sheet of the batteries, it is mentioned over there that how much C rate that you can discharge this cell. So if it is there, so if you are using the huge higher C rate for your cells to discharge, so it will lessen your battery life. And that is a factor that's which is working in a just opposite direction. Same way is the and DOD is there in the battery pack. So these are the terms that you must have gone through one or more of the time. So SOCs describe you that how much the charge there in your battery pack, and the DOD defines you that how much you have discharged. And it is never suggested the 100% DOD rate, and to live the good life of the battery pack, almost 20 to 30% but the charge remain, because if you discharge it completely, so it will make it will make the do not read the voltage levels again, and your cell will go in a disbalanced state. So that's why it is always suggested to have at least 20 to 30% of charge level remaining. So 80% or 70% of DOD is good enough for the design of the battery packs to stay healthy. And as as you will have a constant DOD. So like in the graph that you can see that we have a different 50%, 60% and 100% DOD rates. So as you will be having more DODs, so your cycle life of your cell will also be decreasing, and it decreases almost exponential ways some of the times because of the because maybe in the beginning you have a good hold of the chemistry, so you will not feel about it. But once the degradation, the aging of the cell starts happening, so your cycle life of the cell will also be degrading very fast if you are using the 100% of the DODs. So this is a factor which affects the life of the battery pack, the SOCs and DODs. And it is the safety aspects that we have to talk. So the safety aspect is very much necessary. So as the temperature is there, same way there are the uses conditions of the lithium ion cells are there. So what it happens that generally it is the temperature failure that make the battery pack to go bad. So it starts with the once the temperature starts increasing, and you keep the battery pack in the same temperature conditions for a longer duration, you don't have the heat management techniques. So the battery failure starts happening, and then the material because we have the separator materials. We have the separator materials. So materials. Can you please mute yourself, Mr. Krishnamurthy? And in the third happens the thermal runaway process. So before the cell goes into the thermal runaway process, we have to make the process of protection. So the safety aspect that we have to look at. So the battery should have the enough oxygen, the heat should remain mitigated, and so that it doesn't become a, a case of a scenario like a fuel cell vehicle has, like the catching of the fires. So what are the new things that we can do in this? What are the opportunities that in this lithium ion domain? That so there are 2-3 things that we can do. One is that either you worked in the R&D sector of the and battery packs, and find the newer electrodes and electrolyte materials to develop the lithium ion battery packs with higher energy and higher capacities with safety standards, like the new chemistries, and which I have talked about, like the lithium air, or maybe the enhancements piece that is happening. So this is due to the uses. So this is the material science that I'm talking about. So there is a one approach is there where you can work on. Second is the development of solid state lithium ion battery packs, which could be at a better safe stage, like the lithium ions, the ions that you are using, and there are the lithium cells which you use for the lots of electronic equipments, and they have also the good safety standards. So that's what I'm talking about, the solid state lithium cells. So which is uh, which have the solid electrolytes materials, the ion movements are not there. So such kind of innovations that could be done in the, so all this is towards the material science approach. And towards the electronics and the design side, what we can do, that we can develop good mechanisms for the charging systems. So one is the standard charge that we are talking about, and second, the chargings within the vehicle itself, the regenerative braking system that I'm talking about. And so that's what we can work on, and can develop, can increase and can enhance the ranges, so that we would have the better feel and the better convenience of the vehicles. Or secondly, we can try to integrate the fuel cells with the batteries, or maybe the supercapacitors are also, but there are some limitations with the supercapacitor uses. So these are the different things where there is the opportunity and there is the scope in the lithium ion battery design. So apart from the battery pack designing, and apart from the electronics you are designing, these are the areas where you should look at, and can lots of work could be done for the adoption of the electric vehicles more and more, so that batteries are the bigger factor into this electric vehicle, and that can hold the And if we have the good technology available at the battery pack side, so it can hold the more people towards it, can bring more people towards it. So how we can make better sustainable batteries? So some points mentioned over here, like we can use toxic materials, the supply chain, thereafter the efficiency and efficacy of your battery packs should be higher. The materials which you are using for the battery pack designs should be recyclable and reusable, and and the energy density should be higher. So because if we have the good energy density, so definitely it will increase the life cycle, and the battery pack will be at a higher stage. So that's what the thing that we will be having. And so that's towards the talk of the in the first session, towards the talk of the battery packs, what we require, what are the things which are available, and how we can make the things better in this lithium ion battery pack systems better. So that's what the talk that we had today. And we are in our next of the session, we are going to talk about the the battery packs. Like you have the different use cases, and for different use cases, how do you estimate the capacity? So there are the simulations. So one thing is that there are the formulas, and through formulas you calculate the things, and can work directly on the hardware. Maybe directly you start going to the design of the battery pack using the hardwares, but that will do what? That maybe the things have not been successful that much, and you will feel that I have designed a wrong battery pack. So that may happen. But if you have the a good formula for the capacity estimations, you have the simulations models available for the capacity estimation. So it will be very less chance that it will the battery pack design will fail. So what are those? How do we do those simulations for the different use cases? So we will be looking at in our next of the session of this series. And how do you select the cell, and thereafter the specific battery pack designs and thermal effect of the battery pack you have. So these are the things in the next. Apart from that, some were asking that we have the other masterclass series also running in. So this is a one EV masterclass series, and today we are talking about. So we have the sensors series, and you know that IoT is a very thing in demand. Like if you're in electric vehicle domain also, so you have lots of uses of the IoT, and the IoT is a one thing, but IoT security is the most important thing that you should have with your designs, because until and unless the networked thing which you are producing, the networked thing which you are giving to the people is not secure enough, it will be of no use. So we have the other masterclass series is in the IoT security masterclass series and a sensors series. So that is going running parallel, and that has started already. And in our next series of IoT security, this is specific on the automotive networking security, planned on 6th of February. So maybe you can join this also. You can go to our Facebook page, or you will get the emails also. You can register it, and can take benefit of the sessions. This is our contact details. I first give you the feedback link, and so you need to fill this feedback form. I just give it to you. And through this feedback form, we will be able to capture your attendance also. So in the chat window, I'm just giving the feedback form. Yes. So this is the feedback link I have shared. You can fill up the feedback form, and we can have more inputs from you for our future sessions, and it will be marked for your attendance and for certificate generation purpose also. Our Facebook page, through our Facebook page, you can register for our other masterclass series also, or maybe for other programs if you want to know in. So you can go to this, and there are the events are listed. You can register for the same, and you will get the emails also for this. So I hope you have found this session beneficial. If you are able to see in this video, we have some materials been put over here, which is used for the making of the battery pack. So these are the lithium NMC cells which you are using. So NMC cells are there, 3.7 volt, and these are the LFP cells we do have. So you can see that this has a higher mass, and the energy efficiency is also lower compared to the NMC cells. And these are the separator materials used for the making of the battery packs. Thereafter, these are the nickel iron strips, which is used to join the cells together. And before doing this spot welding, these nickel are used for joining the battery the cells together. And this is a battery pack we do have. This is a BMS, the hardwares which is used during the training purpose also, and for new purpose, for new people who have not been interacted yet through the with these materials. So just for the purpose that is, you can see, I will look. And now I'm ready to take the questions also. So if you have the questions, I can take them. Someone on this session is recorded for your benefit, and you will be shared a link on your email for viewing the playback of the session also. So just you will get a tomorrow from us, where the playback link will be available, and you can keep it safe. This link will remain, this playback will remain available throughout the year. I would like to have some questions if you have.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Actually, I posted my question in chat box, sir. How it is it possible that wireless transmission of electricity for battery management or battery
Yes.
charging of e-vehicles?
Yes, it is happening, and the wireless power transmission, that thing is in the R&D phase, and some companies are working on that. There are the solutions available for the wireless power transmissions through the e-vehicles. And I would request you that we have a good article written on this on our Facebook page. If you will go to our Facebook page, there is a good article written on the solution available for the wireless power transmission. So you can look after there. What are the difference? Like the semiconductor companies are making available the solution for the wireless power transmissions for charging systems. You can go over there and look at.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. This is in an initial stage, but yes, it is proven. It is not a nascent thing now.
Okay, sir.
And Mr. Abhijit, yes. So good question you have. So on every third Saturday of the month, we will be having the EV Masterclass series. So just make a note. On every third Saturday of the month, we will have the EV Masterclass series. On every first Saturday of the month, we have the IoT security series. Every second Saturday of the month, we have the sensors masterclass series. And on every fourth Saturday of the month, we have the entrepreneurship and innovation masterclass series. That's running parallel. And all of them are free to attend for everyone. The links are available. The joining links are available on our Facebook page, and we keep sending the emails also, so you can register through those things. Any more questions if you have? Thank you, Mr. Akash. For the people who have not received the feedback link yet, so I'm again posting the feedback link. Yes, Mr. Vigneshwara, yes, we will be keep sending the emails and whenever the session is there. So we send the calendar invite. So you are requested to accept through the calendar invites first so that you can keep getting. And we are sending the email for each and every incident. So you will be getting the emails. Thanks everyone for your time that you have spent. We will open up more thing on the battery in our next session. Yes, fast charging and battery swapping, these are the technologies. These are mostly related to the electronics and Mr. Prabhat, right? So if you are looking at the fast charging technology, so first you need to ensure that your battery pack, the cell chemistry which you are using, it should validate or it should satisfy the conditions of the fast charging. Fast charging is now become a trend in the industry, but you know that every battery chemistry doesn't support the fast charging technologies. So because you send the current as a burst to the battery pack, and over a time period, doing the fast charging more and more, the chemistry of your battery pack loosen, and you have a very huge degradation of the battery pack in terms of the life and the cycles. So first you need to ensure that the chemistry which you are using for the battery pack, that must be for the fast charging. And secondly, the fast charging, the effective way of control of the fast charging is towards the electronics side. So there you need to see.
Jakir, hi, Jakir bhai.
It can burst like a bomb. Mr. Ashu, it can burst like bomb if you have a temperature rise beyond the limit. First, what will happen, that there are the multiple conditions that can lead to the temperature rise, whether it is the battery pack temperatures or it is the internal cell temperature. So if the internal cell temperature rises beyond limits, so maybe the separator material get degraded and it can burst like a bomb. Or that may also happen with the battery packs, and specifically in the in this NMC cells, such temperature effect, the huge risk is there with the temperature effects. I just show you, and maybe you have seen this video also. I just show you one video, and there you will be able to just a minute. I'm sharing you a video. Mr. Harihara, the generic temperature conditions are 15 to 35 or 40 degrees centigrade. I hope you have viewed the video. So in the beginning, it is the NMC cells. So this is there are two types of cells are there in this. One is the NMC type and another is the LFP type. So right hand side is the LFP type. The NMC cells have a higher energy density. So burst like anything on the pressure, the temperature rises and it bursts like anything. Whereas the LFP cells have less energy density, and the chemistry also makes it leak. So it depends upon the chemistry which you are using for the lithium ion cells. But it is not like that beyond a temp that you make 60 degree or 70 degree and it will burst. So the higher temperature will first make your cell life to degrade. First thing that will happen. Then if due to the increment in the due to the degradation of the cell life and due to the degradation in the materials of the cell, if your separator material is got broken, or if your separator material is got degraded, so then you will have this kind of burning effect with your battery packs or with your cell. So it depends upon the various conditions. It is not like that we have a fixed temperature and beyond that temperature burst. Beyond a certain temperature, it will degrade, and it will lessen the life of your battery pack. And
Sir,
normally till 50-60 degree, it depends that even the outer ambient temperature are 50-60 degree. If you have made the the thermal management system in your battery pack good, so it keeps running. It doesn't make an issue. So you have to always look after the temperatures within your battery pack and then the internal set temperatures. Yes, anyone was asking some question, please.
yes, sir. Sir, there is a common problem in batteries that if the battery will get fully discharged, then the common man could not be able to
Yes.
charge it. We
Yes.
need to give to some particular person, then he will he will charge, and
Yes.
then we can use it. So, sir, what
Yes.
is the solution for this?
You make the BMS system which you are using, the discharging system which you are using for your battery pack. So you should not lose the more than 70 or 80% of the DOD of the batteries. You should not discharge the battery beyond 70-80%. That's what the best solution that you should have to increase the life cycle of your battery pack also, and not to have such kind of scenarios again and again, because if multiple times such scenarios will happen, you will lose the your cell also. So the electronics which you are using with your battery pack, it should always be able to sense that if your DOD has gone beyond 70%, it should stop using the battery pack. Okay, Mr. Prabhakar has some question. For each and every type of battery pack, this is applicable, not only for EV, but for mobile also it is the same thing, because the chemistry is the same. Mr. Prabhakar, you had a question that at what percentage of sustainability can we consider on batteries, packing and their uses, and thereafter charging cycles or recycling the cells and all, and thereafter it is can the hydrogen cell be the future? So I won't say that this is for first is about the hydrogen cell. So I won't say that hydrogen cell is the alternate or it is the future, because the both are separate technologies, like these electric vehicle technologies or the hydrogen cell vehicle, the fuel cell vehicle technologies are all of them are the separate technologies that is working. So advancements are happening in all these domains, and if I see the market, so everyone will have its own share in the market. we can never say that maybe in 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, these fuel vehicles will go obsolete and only electric will be there. Everyone will have a market and everyone will have their use conditions. So definitely hydrogen cells are also picking up in a good, lots of research is happening, but still there is the use case difficulties are there with the hydrogen cells. So that's why they have not picked up much, because of nobody would like to have a kind of gases burning behind his vehicle. That's what happened in the hydrogen cells. That's why one use case scenario is there, which is not been used much. So towards the point of the hydrogen cell, I will say that it will also have its own market once the kind of research will settle down related to that. And related to the sustainability issue, can you just throw some more light onto this? Prabhakar, are you connected? So can you throw some more light onto the sustainability issue so that I can answer you? Capacitance battery, or are you talking about the supercapacitors? Is it the supercapacitors you are talking about? Yes, supercapacitors are really, and in the innovation thing, I have shown you also that supercapacitors could be integrated into the battery pack designs, but only there are some limitations with the supercapacitors are there, that they can't hold the charge for a longer duration, much time period. So that is the problem that may happen. So supercapacitors are in the R&Ds going to be used, and some of the buses are being some of the bus systems, like I think I have the video. Let me just look at. So there is some thing that is being running on the supercapacitors also. Just give me a moment. I just show you that. Set. Okay. Okay, unfortunately, I don't have that video as of now. Maybe I will email you the videos, so how these supercapacitors are used for the bus systems. Supercapacitor better than lithium cells? I can't say that, because both two are the two separate chemistries that is being used, and it is not like that they will replace each other. So it might be possible that some part of the battery pack will be made of the supercapacitors. Like in bus, what happens that if we have the charging, what I wanted to show you in the video, that once the buses, like the buses have 3 kilometers, there are the stop of the buses are there. So what happens that if we have some arrangement where at each stop of the bus we are able to charge the battery pack within the bus within some minute, so we can use the supercapacitors there. And then it could be used as the battery pack. But if we have the long running chemistries, if we have the long running vehicle, so then this supercapacitor could not be used at those locations. It will remain always a problem. Mr. Pranay, it depends upon the chemistry, that how much uh, how much the temperature rise will reduce the amount of current, and on the temperature conditions also, like initial temperature curve will not reduce that much amount, but once you are beyond the ranges, that will reduce heavily, and it depends upon the life of how much old your battery pack is. So that those are the factors which is used for of the degradation of the cell temperature. And the battery packs don't have any standard color like purple or anything like that. It is dependent on the mm, manufacturers. Like you may see that green color LFP cells also, and blue color LFP cells also. So we don't have that specific color codings as of now, in my knowledge. It is the manufacturers. Okay, guys. So I hope you have enjoyed the session. How to increase the efficiency of lithium cell in EV. That's what there is a no standard formula said for increasing the efficiency. It depends upon the use case of the battery packs first, and use case of the vehicle first. Secondly, that the motor controller, means the discharge system which you are using there, the efficiency of that discharge system, like how you are using the battery pack in your vehicle, that is the another factor. And thereafter, how much auxiliaries you have put on the main pack. So those things are the consideration factors for the calculations of the efficiency of the lithium ion cells, or any of the cell which you use in your electric vehicle. So if you work on the electronics side and the use case scenarios of your vehicle, you will be able to increase the efficiencies, apart from the selection of right chemistry and right estimation, capacity estimation. Solid state lithium ion batteries are chemistries, and that I can send you right now. I will not be discussing because that will go in deep for that. So maybe next session I will take it. Next session is planned on third Saturday of February. That you can take the date, third Saturday of February. The next EV session is planned, and it is the subsequent session of the battery pack itself. Yes, amount of current draw affect always the life. So C rate that I have mentioned, maybe in the end of the presentation, I have mentioned you the C rate, that the C rate affects the battery life cycle. So this is the amount of current draw is actually the C rate. So that's what will affect the life. So 1C is the maximum that is being considered one, and the less C rate that you will have through your battery packs, and that is completely dependent upon your electronics and the use cases. So that is the one factor that will affect the life of your battery pack or increase the efficiency of your battery pack. MPPT controllers in PV system can be used over here. You can using that, it might be possible, but we have actually the standard charging sources available. Normally the grid charging system is used in the electric vehicles as of now. So that's why the MPPT is not being thrown much light, but once we have the buck boost is there already. But once we have this alternative energy source charging, so then definitely these MPPT and buck boost charging systems will be used, like you are using the solar systems or other like that. Generally the solar is used as an alternative for the charging. So then you have to look at the MPPT type of solutions, definitely. But if you have the grid control system, so generally it is not used. Thank you, Aman. Okay, and thanks for the session. Stay connected, and sure we will be meeting in our next sessions. Thank you, Pranay. Hope you will get benefited out of it and make some more readings on this, and you will get the ideas more and more. Thank you. So we are ending this session as of now. I hope you have filled up the feedback forms also. Mr. Pranay, now I am not a part of IT. I have started the career with IT, and IT Delhi I have started, and I worked lots of projects, and now I'm looking after the developments and the consultancies with our own companies. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are ending this session now. Good night to everyone, and we will be meeting in our next EV session in February. And if you are interested, so you can join you can register for the other webinar series also. Bye-bye. This recording will be shared on your email.